Picture this. You're on social media and someone posts, "My boss is such a narcissist," followed by another friend commenting, "That's so toxic. You need to set some boundaries." And then someone else comes in, "Honestly, I'm so triggered just reading this." Or even, "I've had my hair cut and I don't like it. It's been so traumatic." You've seen it and heard it, haven't you? Maybe you've even used those words yourself. But I'm curious about this explosion of psychology terminology, psychology words. They're all over the place in our everyday conversations. Where did it come from? And more importantly, is it helping us understand ourselves better, or is it actually making things worse? If you want to pick up some very current words in English conversation, this podcast will give you some excellent practice and understanding. And that's what we're exploring today in this Learn Through Listening podcast. How mental health terms have moved from the therapist's office to be part of our everyday English conversation. According to a recent survey by ThriveWorks, 95% of Americans use therapy terms in everyday conversation. 95%, that's nearly everyone. And it's the same in the UK. And the survey found that nearly 1 in 3 people believe that these terms have their place, but they're being misused or overused. Misused, used in the wrong way. Overused means used too much. The 9 most overused psychological terms include gaslighting, triggered, toxic, narcissist, trauma, OCD, self-care, boundaries, and codependent. These are all words I've used in previous podcasts, but I'm trained as a therapist, so I do understand their true meaning, and I do agree they're overused. So why is this happening now? Why has psychological terminology increased in use so much? Well, there are several reasons, and probably they're not all bad. The positive side first, and this is genuinely positive. We're living through a massive shift in mental health awareness. In the 1970s, very few people knew anything about therapy or mental health. It was rarely talked about. I can also add that when I first started doing therapy work in the year 2000, it was rare to have a male client. Men just didn't go to therapy. That's all changed now. So that's good, surely. And here's some more wonderful vocabulary. Back in the 1970s, there was still tremendous stigma, that's stigma, attached to mental health struggles. Mental health difficulties. If something has a stigma or is stigmatized, as we say, it means that people believe wrong or unfair things about something. And actually, the fact that these therapy words, these psychological terms have come into our everyday conversation has perhaps destigmatized mental health or mental health difficulties, as I prefer to say. So if you destigmatize something, that means you remove the stigma, you remove the shame and the negative associations with it. So that's a positive. People can go and get help now without worrying what people think. Before I get further into this, let me just say that if you're finding this podcast helpful for your English and interesting to listen to, and you want more excellent content like this to practice with, our subscription service gives you 8 extra episodes a month, completely ad-free. Not even ads from me, with fascinating topics just like this one. Go to adeptenglish.com to sign up. But, and it's a big but, this more frequent use of mental health terms has a cost, a downside. For one, it's given rise to lots of armchair experts. People who regularly speak and post online about mental health topics, but who misuse psychological words and who are not trained. It's easy to go on social media and give opinions. You don't have to be qualified to do that. And an armchair expert, that's a wonderful phrase. It means someone who claims expertise without proper experience or training, usually from the comfort of their armchair, while reading articles online. We've all met one, haven't we? And there are plenty on social media, plenty armchair experts. The problem is that complicated psychological terms become oversimplified, made too simple. Think about how information moves on TikTok or Instagram. Someone sees a therapist's careful explanation of gaslighting, say, and then shares it with their followers, who then share a simplified version, and on it goes until gaslighting means anything I don't like. The term gaslighting, for example, became so popular that the dictionary service Merriam-Webster named it as the 2022 Word of the Year. Except, do we actually know what it means? Gaslighting actually means, and this is a proper definition for you, an intentional type of psychological manipulation where someone systematically feeds false information to confuse, to victimize, and to prepare someone else to be controlled. Do you see the difference? That's a term that's misused a lot. If you're interested in where the term gaslighting gets its name, then head to the Adept English website, free English lessons, and type in the number 642. You'll be able to learn all about gaslighting. Another term that's overused. What about the word narcissist? Narcissist. Gosh, everyone's a narcissist now, aren't they? I wish I had £1 for every time that word is mentioned in my therapy room. According to Jacqueline Tenaglia, a mental health counsellor in Boston, in the US, the word is thrown around carelessly and used especially to label someone who has qualities that I don't like. I agree. But here's the reality. Narcissistic personality disorder is a serious clinical diagnosis. It involves things such as an exaggerated sense of one's own importance, fantasies of power and beauty and being the best at absolutely everything, along with a tendency to take advantage of other people, treat them as objects, things. And it goes along with a deep need for attention and admiration. And actually, it affects between 0.5 and 5% of the US population. Can you think of anyone like that, I wonder? I think the problem is someone who is truly narcissistic really impacts us, and it takes us a long time to forget them. And often what we're talking about is someone who is on the spectrum of narcissism, on the range towards it perhaps. Even the best of us can be self-absorbed at times. The problem is the term gets trivialized. The verb to trivialize means to make something seem less important than it is, to make it seem trivial when it's important. So your friend who takes a lot of selfies, definite narcissist, you might say. Someone who talks about themselves sometimes. Well, maybe they're trying to give you the benefit of their experience. Or it could be someone who never had a voice and lacked confidence when they were younger. There is a difference, and it matters. And another thing, I'm seeing more and more people arrive at their first therapy session having already diagnosed themselves. They're often surprised when I say, I don't think you're autistic. If you have true OCD, it tends to rule your life and your thoughts. It isn't being fussy when you clean your kitchen. That doesn't qualify. And I share the experience of Dr. Kathy Richardson, an assistant professor at Lebanon Valley College in the US. She's been surprised to have new therapy clients arrive in her office with a diagnosis and a whole treatment in mind. When she asked them, how did you get diagnosed? The answer is often social media. Oh dear. Now, why does this matter? Why should we care if someone casually says they're traumatized by a bad haircut? Well, there are several reasons, and they're quite important. First, overusing these words can dilute the meaning of the words themselves. To dilute, D-I-L-U-T-E, means to make less powerful, less strong. This happens in language all the time. We overuse words like terrifying when we're talking about the expression on a cat's face, or we say incredible when we're talking about a pudding. Probably no one gets hurt there. It's just our human tendency to exaggerate. And we understand that exaggeration. It's often done for comic effect because it's funny. The problem is with psychological terms, it acts a little bit like currency devaluation. If you print too much money, each note becomes worth less. And it's the same principle. When the word trauma is used to describe everyday events that are annoying, but certainly not traumatic, the overuse and misuse of these words causes them to lose power and meaning. And this creates problems for people with genuine trauma. I'll give you an example. Take the veterans, that's VETERAN, that I talked about in subscription episode 130. I told the story of how the conflicts that followed 9/11 resulted in the deaths of 7,057 American soldiers and service personnel. But since then, it's estimated that 30,177 veterans have died by suicide, by killing themselves. That's because of trauma, PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder from those conflicts. Can you see how it minimizes their experience if we use a word like trauma when we're talking about something everyday and unimportant? There is also how these words get weaponized, turned into weapons, WEAPON. They're used to hurt people, in other words. Someone says, "You're gaslighting me," to shut down a disagreement. Or, "That's so toxic," to avoid having a difficult conversation. And what happens is that it makes something entirely the other person's fault. And this is rarely the case. If two people disagree, usually both people play a part in it. And it's better to own that and discuss it. Isn't it better to aim to be two reasonable human beings and do the work of sitting down and trying to understand the problem between you? So I think it's great that we're more aware of mental health and words for mental health difficulties. But perhaps let's be more thoughtful about how we use these words. Are we using it because it's appropriate, genuinely, or because it has a bigger impact? It's more impressive than simply saying that person was unkind or thoughtless. We are all unkind and thoughtless sometimes because we're human beings, but we have the capacity to learn. And using a word like narcissist without it being clinically appropriate is a way of dismissing someone entirely as a person. Narcissists do exist and they are around, but remember, they're really only 5% of the population. And the next time you say you're triggered, are you experiencing a genuine trauma response? Or do you mean something annoyed you or made you feel another emotion, which would be perfectly normal? But let's use different words. English is a wonderful language. Let's not abuse it. Interested in what you think of this?